Chapter 1107 of One Piece featured the return of the giant warrior pirates, the master plan of the Blackbeard pirates, and how Caribou will verbally change the history of the entire One Piece world by leading it to its destruction with the ancient weapons. But with it, as usual, there is a lot of details, visual Easter eggs, and linguistic nuances that are easy to miss if you're not looking in detail, so let's break down together all the details in this chapter. So this time we get to witness the arrival of the giant warrior pirates, the legendary pirate crew from Elbaf, arriving in their iconic ship, which we know is called the Great Eric, a Viking drag car. As you might recall, Dory and Broggy had been dueling in Little Garden for over 102 years, but just recently decided to end their feud to return to Elbaf. This is very recent since at the start of the post-timeskip they were still dueling on Little Garden during a cover story. But as Nami mentions, she believes that Oimo and Kashi, the former Enies Lobby guardkeepers, must have gone to Little Garden to get Dory and Broggy back together, likely telling them about the Straw Hats again, with them now going after Luffy, who they see as the Sun God. Oimo and Kashi already did try to go after them 52 years ago, briefly after Big Mom's flashback where they mentioned that, but were tricked into becoming Enies Lobby gatekeepers for half a century, until Usopp helped free them. The Sun God was already alluded to during Big Mom's flashback, where it was mentioned the giants prayed to the Sun God, and the winter solstice fast that caused Big Mom's first hunger pang was made to honor the resurrection of the sun, or in other words, the dawn of the world. Some of the giants can even be seen bearing the ancient kingdom's mark of the sun as a tattoo in this chapter, and they've already made the connection that Luffy is Nika, though I wonder if Shanks was the one who told them. Given how Elbaf is fairly close to Egghead, being one of the 3 islands leading from Wano, it makes sense that they were able to reach it fairly fast in just a day. Dory and Broggy are both 160 years old, since giants live over triple the amount of length than a normal person, so think of them like being in their 40s, 50s in human years. They are 22 and 21 meters tall respectively, and are known as the Blue Oni and the Red Oni, a reference to the 2 types of Oni in Japanese culture. It is also believed that some of the designs for some of the giant warrior pirates could be derived from Vicky the Viking, a cartoon that Oda cited as a major influence for One Piece in his childhood, as certain characters from it bear a striking resemblance to some of the Viking giants. Meanwhile, the Pacifista keep blasting the marine ships, having taken down almost an entire third of the Buster Cult, so one of the Vice-Admirals asks to fire back. This Vice-Admiral, who's seemingly a cyborg with a steam-powered arm, is given a name, being Vice-Admiral Red King. His name is a reference to Red King, the beast from Ultraman, that similarly has a very long layered neck. Cutting back to Luffy, we see Bunny witnessing Luffy transformed as Nika for the first time. By the way, last week when Luffy was first being detained and transformed, if you look at the next panel you can actually spot the Marines that were trying to capture him being shot up into the sky Team Rocket style. Also, something that I wanted to mention, this is a really subtle and grammatically complicated detail, but ever since Wano, Luffy has been using a different term to refer to his friends outside of crew, the Nakama. Originally, he used the word tomodachi, which is the standard Japanese word for friends, but ever since Wano, he instead has started using the abbreviation in katakana, dachi, something he has used after Wano for Momo, Tama, and Bonnie. Interestingly enough, it's also the same abbreviation that Bonchan always used. It's not exactly sure why Luffy uses this abbreviation now. It's obviously something intentional since Oda pays a lot of detail to this stuff, but even Japanese fans are a bit confused and wonder what the emotional intent behind this is. Maybe it's the way that he talks to children, since Tama, Momo, and now Bonnie as well are all children, but again, we don't know for sure since it's really just an abbreviation, but there likely has to be some meaning to it, so I thought I'd at least bring it up. Kizaru attempts to finish Vegapunk and kill Bunny with him, but is then stopped by Sanji. He is clearly very conflicted in this, as can be seen in his expressions, but this isn't just limited to his facial range. In general, Kizaru's speech pattern has completely changed for the first time in the entire series. Borsalino usually speaks in a very casual manner, lengthening his sentences and adding particles that indicate ambiguity and amicability in a way that you can never really tell what he's really thinking inside, like he's just trying to be polite, likely the main reason why he wears sunglasses as well, to conceal his emotions. But in this case, he's being curt, quick to the point, and direct in a way that we've never seen him speak like before. For the first time in the entire series, something we've waited years to see, we're finally seeing Kizaru's snap. However, after Frankie and Atlas run away with Bonnie and Kuma, Kizaru begins to sound a little more relieved and casual again. You could infer that perhaps he might be feeling some relief at having failed his mission and that some of his friends might live, but I'm extrapolating here, so feel free to interpret it as you will. However, Sanji is able to deflect the laser beam from Kizaru, just like he had been able to block one in the past chapter as well. Sanji chalks it up to the power of love, but this likely has more to do with his genetic augmentations, as his eyebrows have once again shifted from his normal pattern to that of a 6, obviously standing for Germa 66, just like his siblings, something that Oda even confirmed in an SBS as well. So it seems that Judge was able to apply to his children, and in small part to Sanji as well, the ability to interact and counter with light. Meanwhile, Saturn, who has been blasted away, is confronted by the Blackbeard pirates, who finally, after that small tease almost an entire year ago, are finally making their move. We mentioned before how all the other Blackbeard pirates, aside from Katarina Devon and Lafitte, should currently be busy on other islands, as Teach, Burgess, Van Augur, and Doc Q were fighting law on Winter Island, while Kuzan, Shiryu, Pizarro, Vasco Shot, and San Juan Wolf were fighting Garp at Hachinosu. However, it has been a whole day, and both islands are not that far from Egghead, with Hachinosu specifically being barely a day away, given how Garp was able to go from the nearby G14 base, which we know is close to Egghead, to Hachinosu within the same day, and with Augur having the powers of the Warp Fruit, it's not surprising he was able to get all the way here. It just makes me wonder just how far Augur is able to warp, and if he warped all the way from Winter to Egghead to join Devon, or did part of the trip on ship. However, it seems that the plan of the Blackbeard pirates here was to let Katarina Devon touch and copy the appearance of Saturn. Her fruit is the Inui no Nomi mythical model Kyubi no Kitsune, which refers to the nine-tailed fox, the mythical creature of Japanese mythology that is able to take the appearance of humans. This fruit seems to be fairly similar to the Mane Mane Nomi, or the Mimic fruit that Bon-chan has, but it appears to have the advantage to copy not just the biological appearance, but also the clothes of the person it's mimicking, being able to transform into Absalom's physical clothing as well, making it a more effective version of the fruit. What it really has me wondering, however, is if it can also mimic the devil fruit powers of those it touches, such as being able to transform like Saturn here does in his hybrid Ushioni form. I would assume not, since that would be like incredibly broken without restrictions, but her mentioning, "I wonder what type of devil fruit abilities you have," does make me wonder if it somehow could be possible, or if she's just curious about his ability. This also brings into question, though, what was the purpose of copying a Gorosei? There's the potential, though, perhaps gain access to certain places or deceive others, but more than anything, I think that Teach may want this ability for the sake of being able to have ultimate control over the Pacifista. Likely following his encounter with the Seraphim at Amazon Lily on Nogashima, he may have found out about the authority hierarchy and wanted a way to take control of it. So if Teach could seize the Seraphim in some way, then this could completely turn around the power of the Seraphim, instead essentially leaving Blackbeard his own personal army of warlords. So not only would the government potentially lose the power of the warlords that established this balance in the world against the Yonko, but then Blackbeard would be gaining it in turn to strengthen his own army. Saturn wonders why such a dangerous criminal like Devon would decide to follow someone like Teach, but she mentions that Teach is special, and Saturn affirms that this must in part be because of his bloodline. The word here is Chisuji, which literally means bloodline, though you could translate it as lineage as well. Generally, this refers to the idea of being a descendant of someone or group of people, but it makes me wonder if he could be referring to the lineage of people, the group of people he was born from, in this case obviously the D clan that formed the Ancient Kingdom, which we know Teach is a part of, Marshall D. Teach, or his actual bloodline as in a race, like being part of a special special race or something. After all, we were told that Teach's body is abnormal in some way. He isn't able to sleep, and he is able to host a second devil fruit within him. And think about it, we've recently been told about how buccaneers are large creatures with the power to allow their memories and will to live on even beyond death. So, is there a possibility that Teach could be a buccaneer, and that is why he's able to somehow bear a second will of a second elfer within him? Or maybe a buccaneer was able to get his own will within Teach, or a similar power? Again, it's hard to say since we don't have the details. Devon, however, is surprised that Saturn was aware that Teach's bloodline makes him special, which makes me wonder even further because I think it's fairly obvious that the Gorosei would know more about the D clan, so I'm sure a lot of people may also wonder if said info came from Shanks' warnings to the Gorosei about a certain pirate, which we've all generally assumed is likely to be Blackbeard, but it's all mentioned so vaguely that it's still hard to say for sure. And finally, Saturn asked the Blackbeard pirates, "What is it that you're after?" And they simply reply with the word Sekai, the world. Their objective goes beyond being Pirate King or finding the One Piece. It is to attain the entire world, something that is reminiscent of the dream that Rox Dijabek had, a figure that is very deeply connected with Blackbeard in some way or another, wishing to become the king of the world. That's a position that is instead now currently being held by Nerona Imu, who has been directly called, word by word, the king of the world by Sabo and Cobra. It is evident that the Blackbeard pirates are trying to scheme a plan of cataclysmic proportions, one that the government may very well be underestimating. Having mimicked Saturn, they could have control over all the Seraphim and Pacifista, having a private Shichibukai army at their behest. And there's also the fact that Blackbeard is aiming to make Hachinosu a world government country that could potentially attend the reverie as well. Much like in the past, it would make sense if this would be for the sake of infiltrating Marijois and attaining something from there, just like how he became a Shichibukai just to infiltrate Impel Down, but I feel that there should be simpler ways to do that, so I wonder what the true purpose of that move really is. And unfortunately, the Blackbeard pirates gain even more of an advantage in their great plan as they get stopped by Caribou, who is revealed to have been a massive fanboy of Blackbeard all this time, essentially the Bartolomeo to Teach that set out to sea inspired by him, which, when you think about it, makes a lot of sense since Bartolomeo and Caribou became supernovas at around a year of distance and even have almost the exact same bounty and almost kind of similar personalities in how they act. Caribou literally is the complete opposite of Bartolomeo, but also kind of the same person, so I kind of even wonder if Bartolomeo's endgame matchup could be against Caribou, as after all, Bartolomeo's barriers could simply get swallowed by his swamps. It could be a very fun idea. However, Caribou's gone on a really long journey in this series. He was originally a supernova when arriving at Sabaody, then he got captured at Fishman Island by the Straw Hats, he tried capturing mermaids and then Shirahoshi, only to get busted by the Straw Hats, and then Jinbe capturing him during a cover story and dropping him with the Marines at G5 to be executed. He was, however, saved in his execution by his brother, who he then ended up backstabbing to run away and got instead stranded on an island of Kaido's territory after shipwrecking, an island that was controlled by Iron Boy Scotch, who enslaved the locals to produce weapons that we would then have Kaido sell in the underworld thanks to Joker or Doflamingo, connecting to the entire plotline of Dressrosa and later Wano. Caribou, however, posed as the local revolutionary Gaburu, obviously inspired by Che Guevara, and led an uprising that put an end to Scotch's rule, liberating the island but getting captured by Dieth Drake in turn. Then he was imprisoned in Udon and helped Luffy during the raid, being allowed to leave the island but ending up now stranded on Egghead, with Zoro not letting him get back on the ship, where finally he is given a chance to meet the man of his dreams, Blackbeard. And this is something we already knew about, as Caribou mentioned several times before that he imagined a certain person would be very interested in some of the information that he found out about, particularly when he overheard about the true identity of Poseidon being Princess Shirahoshi, as well as him also overhearing that Pluton is found beneath Wano, meaning that now Caribou is aware of the location of two of the ancient weapons. And given how Ivankov believed that the remaining ancient weapon, which should be Uranus, is in the hands of Imu, being powered by the Mother Flame power cells to destroy Lelouch, then Blackbeard now could potentially have access to the two other available ancient weapons, setting the stage for his global conquest, and if things should go badly, the very end of the One Piece world as we know it. Little by little, the stage is being set for the very final conflict of the series.